Family, what's happening? Red Worship is here. We have entered the chat. How y'all feel, first of all?
I feel great.
Hey.
Just ate.
Right, exactly. All the things. Listen, our new song, Anytime, is out, and we are so excited about it. So, we brought in our brother Nemo.
What's up, family? What did you say
Nemo.
I was?
It's like Dory, but it's Nemo.
We love
I'm
that.
with it.
And we like that for you.
Do people ever ask you, where's Dory? Like to mess with you?
All the time, and I just say
No.
she's somewhere. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Really?
I always say my wife is somewhere around, but then I was like, well, Dory was actually not his wife. So
It's weird. I got
That
you.
should have been a thing, though. They should have ended up together.
well, that was like a big age gap, so I don't.
Wait, Dory and Nemo?
Dory was older.
Nemo was not-
Nemo. Nemo was the
Moving
little
on.
First of all,
baby.
this
Nemo
is
was the
getting
young-
squirrel.
Wow.
Next.
Anyway,
All right.
Anyways, yeah,
Creative
Nemo,
minds.
if you wanted to facilitate a little conversation about the song.
Yeah, so obviously, Anytime is out now, and I think it's an incredible song. Lizzie, you are singing on it, and you were singing. So
brother.
I want to talk about the story. How did Anytime even come about in the writing session? Any of that? I don't know who wants to go ahead and go
Andrew,
there.
you wrote it.
we wrote it, first of all. No, we actually had the honor of writing this with Terrence White as well as Lori Ward.
Yeah.
It was, what camp was that? Was that?
Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah, our Greenville camp. Can't remember how long ago it was. But yeah, we were just in one of a few writing sessions. And like many writing sessions, what are y'all thinking? What are y'all feeling? And I kid you not, Lori was the one who gave us the concept. She was like, I got an idea. And she was like, what about, it's something about God just coming any place and talking to you in any circumstance or whatever the case may be. I was like, well, there's a lot of songs kind of like that. Like God can show up, you know?
Yeah.
But she was like, no, but I had this crazy thing happen to me. And I was like, okay, go ahead, do tell. And she literally said that she was standing in an aisle at Walmart and shopping or whatever the case may be. And she felt the presence of God so thick come into that space that she literally told God, not here, not now. It's not the time. It's not the place.
Over here
right.
trying to buy groceries.
And she's out here trying to do her thing. There's people around, whatever the case may be. I think that's what she said, but we're going to go with it. And she said that when she kind of shared that with God, that God was like, I can do it anytime. I can show up in any place. And I was like, that's definitely the song.
Yeah.
And so that's essentially where it started. And, we always say like a window of opportunity, you need to seize the opportunity of a lifetime and the lifetime of an opportunity. Well, that doesn't happen in eternal God.
Right.
There is no lifetime because it's constant. Right. And so you put those concepts together and you're like, all right, well, what other things do people talk about when it comes to limited time? Okay, a window of opportunity. And then that's how those lyrics started. You don't need a window or a moment set aside, and so that's essentially how it started, the heart behind it, and how we got to start writing it.
So you would say, what would you, all three of y'all, what would y'all do in an instance where you're shopping at Ross or you're shopping at Target, or you're in Guitar Center, whatever, right?
Come on now. I'll take it.
What would you guys
Pro
do
shop.
if God literally says, hey, drop everything you're doing and lift your hands and worship me?
Ooh.
I'm not dropping everything. I'm kidding.
Depends on what store, right?
Yeah.
What would you do?
Because if you think that's kind of what she was saying, implying was, I'm going to worship.
Yeah.
God says, worship me here. And you're like, but God, I'm at the egg section. Like,
I'm like,
I don't want to drop these eggs. But it's like, I'm here. Worship me.
Yeah.
Ooh. I mean, I do feel like one thing that I've learned, like just getting older, like and learning how to be an adult, is like life is so busy. And
for real.
I think that one thing that I've learned, like just in my 20s, is I feel like I used to, when I was younger, have this idea of like, I have to go to the prayer closet and like be in this certain way, in this certain room by myself. I have to have worship music playing, and that's how like I spend time with God. And I think there is a place for that. But the older I've gotten and just like learning like life, the rhythm of life, I think that I've learned like I find myself spending more time with God, like when I'm playing with my younger siblings, or when I'm spending time with my family, or like sitting at the dinner table and like being with my friends and having conversations about God. Like that is really the place that with age, I feel like I've met him more. So I think like I have become a lot more comfortable with him coming at a place like Target or shopping. Like, and I think like the older you get, you realize it's so much more about like trying to get him to be a part of every day, every moment. It's not just him in a church building or just him in my prayer closet. It's like, he's with me right now like while I'm hanging out with y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
No, I feel the same on that, and I think you kind of touched on something, Nemo. Whereas you said if the Lord asks you to do it, and like for me, that just it talks about obedience, and so like if He says to do it in the middle of the Ross, then listen, put the shoes down and like
go for it.
you know,
yeah, because you don't have to. Sometimes I feel like turning your affection to God isn't always a jumping around. Or even hands. I mean, I don't want to reduce it to one expression.
Yeah.
Sometimes it really is, God, I feel you so close. I love you, Lord. Yeah. Like that is just as powerful and just as potent. You know, some people be like, you need to be a public representation. You got to get out. Don't be ashamed. Right. And it's like, well, yeah, but truthfully, He responds to my affection in that moment just as significantly. You know?
Yeah, that's good. I think it's great to just have God in your daily life. I'll use an example. I was at the store one day, and I was having a rough day, and this lady walks by, and she just says, God bless you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Not knowing that I needed it.
Wow.
So I go to a spot, and I think I was at Walmart, and I just like tears are falling out of my eyes, and I'm like, I'm going to look at this shirt, because I don't know why I see it. But it's that, you don't need a window or a moment set aside. Right. Like you can move in a snap of a finger. Yeah. And to me, that's where God gets... It's an unplanned moment.
Yeah.
And what do you guys do in those moments where God comes just like a breeze out of nowhere, the most random place? How do you handle something that thick that comes?
Ooh, I've been in a few moments like that. I can name a few, but one of them, we were over here in rehearsal. I don't know if you remember it.
I remember.
I don't know what song we were singing. I think it was
King of Glory. I remember it vividly.
All of a sudden, like I was just singing. We were just rehearsing. Like we're in practice.
We're sitting in a circle, literally.
Oh, and just like tears, just like, and I can't sing no more, and I'm like choked up.
Yeah.
And so the only thing like at that moment I could do was just respond to it and just like let the team go ahead. Like,
right. Yeah. But what was interesting is you, not to put you on blast, but you were like, guys, I'm so sorry. Oh yeah. And then I remember almost like. Don't almost kind of not irritated at you, but don't you dare be sorry for responding. And the team is kind of looking at us like, what's happening? Yeah, what's happening? What are we gonna do? And I was like, you don't pull out of that.
Yeah, right.
Stay there. Yeah. And then she did for a while. Sorry. It was good. I loved it.
I loved into it.
That's what you do. You lean into it.
That's good, Liz.
I'm looking through some of the stuff here, and it says It says in the lyric, you can move in a whisper or roaring of a lion.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have a preconceived idea of how it's going to get, how God's going to do it. Yep. How. But this is literally saying we don't need to put God in a box.
Yep. Yeah.
Do y'all agree that sometimes you said prayer closet or in church, like, do you agree that sometimes this is my schedule, Jesus? So you're going to be placed in my schedule here. And like this lyric says, you can come in a whisper or a roaring of a lion.
Dang.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I think it talks about the Bible, like how He's a jealous God. So even in that sense, like He's jealous for our time. He's jealous for our attention, our focus. And yeah, I think we definitely can box Him in. But I think it goes back to that like leaning into Him thing. It's like when you're in love with someone, like you lean into it, you stop everything for them. Right. And I think like, a lot of the times, like, I can really tell where I'm at in my walk or just in that season of my life with the Lord based off how much I'm willing to, like, stop and lean into it. Like, because you can definitely push them to the side sometimes. Yeah. Everybody has a season of that. Yeah. But I think, like, and I think the longer you walk with the Lord, that's also where it can get harder because it becomes a little, like, normal and common to you. Yeah, so I think that's something that we constantly have to work on is, like, leaning into it. Even like when they're talking about rehearsals, we have a lot that we do in a rehearsal, like
to get done.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is hard sometimes for us to be like, okay, no, we're gonna stop and just like recognize that He's here.
Right. And He can you know, like she was saying, sometimes we can get familiar with how God has moved before.
Yeah.
So we tend to project what has taken place before as in this is how it has to happen in the future. Yeah. And I think with that lyric, you know, God can be, he can be experienced or heard in a whisper as well as a roaring of a lion. And that came out of that scripture. I think I want to say it's 1 Kings where Elijah was running for his life and he came and God literally asked him, what are you doing here? And told, Elijah was explaining himself and God told Elijah, step out. And he walked out of the cave and there was an earthquake. and God wasn't in the earthquake, and there was a wind, there was a mighty rushing wind. He wasn't in the wind, a fire, and he wasn't in the fire, but he was in a whisper.
Wow.
You know, but in the same capacity, you hear the story of the walls of Jericho falling down. Okay, that was a response out of a shout.
Wow.
Well, God can move powerfully and equally in both.
Yeah.
Depending on whatever is needed.
Yep.
You know, but sometimes we can reduce God as he is going to do this. I don't know. You can tell God how he's going to move. You just can't, you know. So you never know.
The other lyric, I believe, is it right after where it says you have my permission whenever you decide to come and move. It's like, you're not in my schedule. Like you are my schedule.
You are my schedule.
You are my daily living life. Like,
that's so good.
That's good.
Do you think it's hard or easy to? Do you think it's hard to keep that, or do you think it's easy to keep that?
You jumped at that line. Go ahead. You talk.
It's a little of both. I mean. It kind of goes back to what Liz said. If you're in love, you just drop everything. But yeah, it is sometimes not the best, you know. Like we're trying to finagle, like,
right?
How?
Yeah,
definitely.
It's definitely both.
But he does have our permission, you know.
Right.
But I think getting to the place where you give him permission can be really hard, and like,
that's
the part, like. Because even singing the song, like before you lead a song, I feel like you have to get to a place where you have that conviction about what it says. And like, even for me to sing that song, like that takes time to get to that place where like you can sing it and actually mean it. Like,
that's good.
I actually mean you have permission, because like he's not a God who just wants to come like barge in and I'm doing this. Like, I think, he is. And so like, I think it's, basically what we're saying is it's depending on the season. Sometimes it's easy, and then sometimes it's like, I'm not feeling this right now.
As you say that, what are moments, all three of y'all, what are some moments where you've had to live out some of these lyrics that are said? As maybe you singing it, you being in the writing session, you singing it as well. What are moments where you've been like, oh my goodness, I just sang this song and now I have to literally live this out?
I think for me I think for me, like on the second verse it says like all of my desires, every wish and every dream. Like for me, I've had to lay down quite a few things, you know, and just allow the Lord to step in, but step into the timeline and then, you know, step into the desires and the dreams. So it is a challenge, but you know, I'm willing to do that, and I've learned that I'm willing to do that.
Yeah.
That's good.
We were talking the other night, me and Trin. We're having one of our sister moments, because, I mean, there's, like, such a cost to this. And it does get hard, because I think you definitely have the moments where you realize how costly it is and how not fun it can be at times. And I personally, like, really struggle with that sometimes, just because I know there are things that we can't do that other people can because of the calling. And so there's a lyric in the chorus. It's like, come speak to me. And then later on in the back half of the chorus, it's like, my heart, come and move, come and speak, come and have your way with no restraints, no hesitation. My heart is yours anytime. And it's this whole journey thing. It's like, come speak to me, my heart is yours anytime. That part where you say my heart is yours and anytime took time to get to that place. Like,
it did.
It wasn't just always this like, here's my heart, Lord. It's like, people so often like hold their hearts like this. It's like, I want to give it to you, but this is like, this is what I desire for my life. This is what I want for my life. I have this idea in my head, but I want you to speak to me so badly that I'm going to open up my hand and give you my heart. That takes time. And I feel like as like Christians, as believers, as the church, I don't think that we talk enough about like, it's not easy to do. Like, even when you know how good he is, there are still times where it is so hard to be like, here's my life, whatever you want. And so like, even just in that chorus, I feel like it's this exchange thing. It's this thing where it's like, I want you to speak to me so bad that I'm giving you my heart. And that takes time.
It's a surrender, man.
I was driving on the way here today, and I don't normally listen to the radio. Decided to put on the radio
every so often.
And I don't know if Ashley remembers, but he says, if you're dealing with anxiety, if you're dealing with depression, if you're dealing with stress, he says, put your hand on your heart and like this, and he says start slowly closing it. Right? And he says once you close it, you squeeze it, put it above your head and release it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was like you were talking about the heart, and you literally were just holding it, and you were saying like, okay, God, I'm gonna release this because you can come and move at any time.
Yeah.
To conclude this, what do y'all want this song to be for people? Certain songs mean certain things for people. What do y'all want this song to mean to people that are going to listen to it? Whether it's someone from our church, whether it's someone across country, whether it's a child that's 10 years old or an adult that's 65 years old. What do you want this, like, what is the one thing you want them to feel, to hear, to grab and hold on to with this song?
I think, like similar to what Lizzie was saying, I think our hearts cry even as worship leaders, as, songwriters, is we know our responsibility, our purpose is to not only worship God, but to help others worship and connect just outright with no restraints and no hesitations, right? Yeah. And I think that especially in a region like ours, we're recording this, and, even though the song was written on the East Coast, it's just like we're around a lot of busyness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody's got a loaded schedule. Everybody's got a loaded obligation list and running 1,000,000 miles an hour and all this other stuff. And I think if this song can help the listener, the worshiper, just stop for a second.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, even in the midst of all this, my heart is yours.
Yep.
Do what only you know what I absolutely need.
Yeah.
Yes.
Only you know what I need to hear.
Yes.
Only you know what I need to do.
Yeah.
And it is that connection. The Bible says man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that is proceeding from the mouth of the Father. Not what was said before, but what is being said now. And if we don't hear that word, there's no life. You don't live.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I think that is what we want to happen. At least that's what I want to happen.
Yeah,
What we
I
want to
agree.
happen.
Yeah. I want them to know that it's worth it.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
So
Started
good.
this combo talking about like if he comes in the store or
Yeah.
wherever, in the car or whatever, like, but that it's worth it.
Come on.
One encounter with God, it changes everything. One
Yes.
moment, one just breath in his presence, it has the power to change everything, your perspective, your heart, your desires and dreams, right?
For real.
Just everything. And so it's worth it on the other side of it. If you can get past the awkward, if you can get past, the inconvenience, so to speak, like, it's worth it all.
Yeah. I was going to say what Trinity was going to
Yeah.
You just said something. I know it was about them, but you said the awkward.
Yep.
How do we get past the awkward for God to come at any time? Because we can stop God from coming at any time because we feel awkward in the position, in the place, in our heart. Yeah. How do you feel like we can get past that?
Gosh.
Humble yourself under the mighty hand of God.
Yes, sir.
And at an appointed time, he will exalt you.
Wow.
I think that's what it comes back to. It's
Yeah,
like, I
so
think
good.
I know what I
Wow.
need.
It's really good.
Yes.
I know, or I need to control the environment and the context that I am currently in.
Yep.
People around me, their perceptions of me.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the only thing that matters truly is what he thinks of me in those moments. Because it's moments of obedience. I'm not saying go crazy, jump on a table and just like, you don't have to do all that. But I think that's what, to answer the question is like, how? What do? You humble yourself.
Yeah, it's so good.
You posture yourself like that.
I think this is a good way to end it. Lizzie, where do we find this song at?
Oh gosh, we find it on Apple Music, Spotify. What
All
else
of the
is there? I
things.
mean, we'll be on
YouTube.
all the things. Just go to our Instagram page, Red
Period.
Worship, and all the details will be on there. I hope. Fingers crossed.
All
No, they're going to be there.
You got anything else to say?
No.
All right.
Love you guys. Thank you, Nemo.
Come
on, Nemo.
Nemo in the house.
You're incredible.
You're the best.
His beautiful wife is right in front of us.
Period.
I don't know how to turn the camera, but shout out to Ashley. We
Shout
love
out
you.
to Ashley.
Yeah.
All right.
We love you guys.
Love y'all.
Thanks for listening.